3 millennium of darkness. By our own hand was the earth bathed in primordial fire. The sun blotted out, the silent towers crumbled, the earth reduced to blasted caustic wastelands and tangles of alien growth. But humanity survived, clawing its way back from the dust and grit, rising again from the ashes to find a new purpose in the healing wasteland. Hollow relics of the past littered and polluted the world with their heretical forms, tempting the weakness of humanity in those days. A great struggle for control of that tainted legacy ensued, but this war could only be won by those who shed the old ways and found a new power within themselves that rejected the way of the machines which had enslaved their ancestors. A great religious fervor swept the lands. A mysterious prophetic figure rose from the desert, declaring himself the first emperor of mankind, clothed in the tradition of old but casting away all impure and corrupt things. This man, whose true name is lost to history, it is said that in himself he brought together all things alike and unlike, the highest and the lowest, the base and the spiritual, knowledge and ignorance, hatred and love, life and death. The tides of war carried his followers to victory as if the very gods had decreed it should come to pass. So swift and complete was their success. A new order emerged. Rivals of old became bound together in a feudal system that linked all peoples into the great solar imperium, granting fiefdoms to the 8 most powerful families whose loyalty had been strongest during the war. They ruled over the 8 great city-states of the known world. In the fires of revolution, the imperial family was born. They took on the title of Clan Solari and spread legends of their descent from the gods of old world religion. The first emperor gave way to the second emperor, and then the first empress, the third emperor, the second empress, and so on. For 100 years now, the imperium has reigned strong, and Clan Solari has become the greatest of the families. After the war, the emperor organized the many families who had supported him into the clan system, placing one family in control of each of the 8 great city-states that survived the war. Each clan, made up of many families, would rule over a city-state and the lands around it. The family to lead each clan would be chosen by a grand tournament each year in the imperial capital of Apollos. The family ruling each clan would be forced to defend their titles and prove their capability. By this, the emperor forced each family to retain a large contingent in the imperial capital and forced each lord to embark on a costly journey to the capital each year, thereby keeping each family under close control and giving the emperor a steady supply of hostages to take in the case a lord entertained the idea of rebellion. It was thus that the emperor maintained control of the 8 clans. But there were other more tangible dangers that lurked deep in the unknown regions of the wasteland, forces that still clung to the old ways and rejected the light of the imperium. Beyond the protection offered by walled city-state, the roving gangs ruled the wastelands. They rarely dared enter imperial lands, and the legions stood ever at the ready to scatter them to the wind. They still vainly strove to collect the lost technology of past dark ages, the bark of rifles and roar of machine cars dwarfed only by the holy thunder of our glorious landmines as they rend metal flesh and bury the twisted abominations under the cursed sands of the radioactive desert. But worse, the gangs replicated those other abominations of that lost dark age, the abomination of enslavement. Forced labor is the great enemy which strips man of his dignity and flays his soul to the bone. Would that I spill my blood in holy field of battle than to be ground down into a living skeleton. But humanity had inoculated itself against the threats of old. Gone were the times of the ignorant masses laboring under a small elite. Each person had become a window to the greatness of the human soul. Each person was like a king of old, and the emperor was a king of kings. This was all achieved through the pure fire of Daggers, the way of tactical victory, a martial art and way of knowledge trained by every citizen of the empire. It focused on mastery of the self, the mind, the body, and the emotions through the use of ritualized learning and recital. The kata of Daggers were the remnants of all human knowledge passed down by word of mouth from before the Great Burning. At the inception of the empire, the warriors of House Freeman had distinguished themselves above all others. At the apocalyptic Battle of Wolfsrun, they had carved a bloody path through the crushing ranks of the enemy and earned a place in the emperor's court at Apollos. It was there years later when the young son of the Lord Freeman Jamdil gave a demonstration in front of the emperor where the unarmed boy wrestled the knife from the hands of an imperial captain. The emperor was so impressed by this that he instructed Lord Freeman to become the martial teacher to the imperial army and set his family as the head of the first ninja clan, the Force Clan, charged with defending the borders of the Imperium and keeping safe the new order, which had been clawed from the ashes of defeat. Thus was born Freeman Tacritus, merging the ancient knowledge passed down by the Tacritian priesthoods over 3 millennia with the power and strategic martial systems developed by House Freeman during the Warring Period. Soon other clans were formed from the example of the Force Clan, each being allowed by the Emperor to fulfill some important task to the Imperium. There was the Void Clan, who existed to purify and carry on the spiritual and intellectual traditions of humanity. The Thunder Clan, who carry out and administer public ritual. The River Clan, who specialize in trade and the transportation of goods. The Ghost Clan, who oversee the rituals involving death, burial, and the afterlife. The Earth Clan, who specialize in materials and architecture. The Metal Clan, who are stewards of what limited industry the Imperium allows. And finally, the Wind Clan, who maintain and practice humanity's medical knowledge. Each clan is granted lands by the Emperor and charged with fulfilling their clan's role in society, lest the right to govern those lands should be revoked. The yearly ritual tournament has become the center of all civil and political life, as the entire structure of society revolves around it, and each family's ability to perform the necessary tasks to hold their title as clan leader. To prove your family's loyalty to the Emperor, to the art of Tacritus, and to the survival and future of humanity is the deeper meaning of the Imperial Tournament. Without it, civilization would be torn down and consumed by the wasteland. So it is spoken by our 17th Emperor Solarii, the 23rd on the 4th day of the 8th month in the year 126 AE.